Her name was Linda Walker, 62 years old, living alone in a small one-bedroom apartment in Phoenix, Arizona. Not the expensive kind. The kind where the hallway lights flicker sometimes, where the elevator often needs repair, where neighbors keep to themselves because everyone is busy surviving their own life. Every morning, Linda pulled back her yellow curtains and stood by the window for a minute. Not to admire a view. There wasn't much to see. Just a parking lot with sun-faded cars and a few desert plants trying their best to stay alive. She looked because it reminded her that the day had started again. She was still here. Breathing. Moving. She brewed her coffee in a small machine that made a struggling sound every time. She sat at the same table where she used to sit with her husband, Sam. He passed away 8 years ago. Heart attack. Quick. Cruel. No chance to say more than a frightened goodbye. Since then, the apartment had grown quieter. Too quiet sometimes. Silence can feel like a heavy blanket a person can't push off. Linda worked part-time at a local grocery store, greeting customers and bagging items. People were kind but rushed. Life moved fast for everyone else. She moved slower now, careful with her steps, careful with her thoughts. Rent went up a little every year. Her hours sometimes went down. The numbers didn't balance easily. She never told anyone, but some nights she ate only toast so she could stretch groceries a bit longer. Even then, she still kept those bright yellow curtains. Sam had chosen them. He said they made the room look like sunshine lived inside. She refused to replace them. One Tuesday afternoon, she returned from work with tired arms and shoes that hurt more than they should. There was a letter in her mailbox. From her daughter, Emily. They hadn't spoken in months. Not because of anger. Because life created distance, and neither of them knew how to close it. Emily had moved to Chicago for a job. A real job with meetings and deadlines and good money. Linda was proud. She didn't want to be a weight around her daughter's neck. So she always said she was fine. Even when she wasn't. Inside the envelope was a simple card. Mom, I'm sorry I haven't called. I think about you every day. I'm working a lot. I miss your voice. Linda held the card against her chest. Her eyes filled, but the tears didn't fall. Not yet. She placed the card by the yellow curtains, like a small decoration of love. That night, she heated a bowl of soup and turned on the TV. The news talked about rising costs, storms somewhere far away, and people celebrating things she didn't understand anymore. She lowered the volume. She didn't want noise to drown the memory of her daughter's words. Time passed. Days repeated. One Saturday, a knock came at her door. She wasn't expecting anyone. Her heart beat faster, like it remembered how excitement once felt. She opened the door slowly. A young woman with tired eyes and a nervous smile stood there, holding a takeaway coffee tray. Hi, Mom. Linda didn't move. She stared for a second too long, as if her mind needed to catch up with what her eyes already knew. Emily, her voice cracked. Emily nodded. Surprise. Linda pulled her inside, hugging her tighter than she meant to. Emily smelled like airport air and perfume. A combination of rushing and trying. They sat at the little table. The same table where things once felt whole. Emily talked fast. Work was exhausting. Bills were stressful. The city was loud. She felt lonely. She wanted home, but she wasn't sure what home meant anymore. Linda listened quietly. Mothers learn to listen without interrupting. I didn't know how to ask for help, Emily finally admitted. You don't have to ask, Linda said. You just come home. The soup was warm that night. They shared bread. They laughed at memories. The apartment didn't feel small. It felt full. Emily stayed the weekend. Helped fix a leaking faucet. Cleaned the fridge. They visited Sam's old bench at the park. They sat together in silence, not uncomfortable silence. Just breathing the same moment. When Monday came, Emily packed her bag. I'll visit again soon, she promised. You better, Linda smiled. Before leaving, Emily looked at the curtains. You kept them. Your father picked them, Linda said. He believed in bright things. Emily touched the fabric. I think he still would. After her daughter left, Linda stood by the window once more. The parking lot was the same. The sun just as hot. But something felt lighter in her chest. Not perfect. Just a little better. And that was enough. She brewed her coffee. She sat at the table. She held the card again, but this time the tears came. They fell slow and warm, leaving soft marks on her cheeks. She didn't wipe them away. Crying isn't always sadness. Sometimes it is the heart letting go of heavy things. Linda looked at those yellow curtains, shining gently in the sunlight, and whispered into the quiet room. I'm still here. She pulled her shoulders back, stood up, and started her day again. Not because she had to. Because she wanted to. The world was still hard. The bills were still a problem. Her back still hurt. But someone cared. Someone would knock again. In a life full of struggle, that small hope can feel like fresh air. She walked to the window, touched the warm glass, and allowed herself the smallest smile. Tomorrow will come. There will be coffee. There will be sunlight. There will be love. And the yellow curtains would keep shining for all of it. The next few weeks felt different for Linda. The apartment had the same walls, the same squeaky kitchen drawer, the same loud neighbors arguing about parking spaces. None of that changed. What changed was the feeling inside her. Like someone had lifted the heaviness just enough to let light slip through. She started taking evening walks around the neighborhood. Nothing far. Just a slow loop around the block, passing the mailbox rows and the small playground where kids sometimes left their scooters behind. She noticed things she had ignored before. The young couple who walked their dog while laughing softly. The old man who fed birds behind the market every morning. The neighbor girl on the second floor who always wore colorful headphones and danced a little while waiting for the bus. Life around her was happening. Maybe she could be a part of it again. At the grocery store, she began talking a bit more. She remembered regular customers by name. One woman, Mrs. Harris, liked to buy the same brand of tea every week. One day she looked tired and sad, so Linda asked if she was doing all right. Mrs. Harris paused, surprised someone noticed. Then she admitted her husband was in the hospital. Linda squeezed her hand gently. I'll pray he feels better soon. A simple line. It seemed to mean a lot. When her shift ended, she walked home slowly. There was pride in her steps. Small but real. Sometimes she called Emily at night. They didn't talk long. A quick update about work. A laugh about something silly. But the calls came more often. And that frequency felt like healing. One Sunday afternoon, Linda opened a drawer looking for batteries and found an old photo album. She sat on the carpet and flipped through the pages. Pictures of Sam fixing the car while smiling at her behind the camera. Photos of Emily in her school plays, wearing costumes that were too big for her. Family picnics. Christmas mornings with wrapping paper all over the floor. She whispered to the photos, "We had a good life." Her voice was steady this time, not breaking. That evening, she made herself a real dinner. Not toast or soup. She cooked pasta with vegetables and set the table like someone special was joining her. She wanted the moment to feel worthy. Eating alone doesn't have to mean living less. A few days later, she received a call from the apartment office. They were hosting a small community event in the courtyard. Coffee, snacks, a few folding chairs. Nothing fancy. They invited her to join. Normally she would say she was busy or too tired. This time she said she would be there. The sun was softer in the evening. People gathered slowly. She recognized a few neighbors she usually passed without speaking. Someone offered her a blueberry muffin. She sat with two women near her age, and they started talking about recipes, grandkids, and the heat that never seemed to go away in Arizona. It felt easy. It felt normal. When she returned to her apartment, she glanced at the yellow curtains glowing gently under the streetlight. Sam had bought them bright on purpose. He used to say, "Our home should always feel awake." She whispered into the room, "It's waking up again." Later that night, she lay in bed and held her phone. She wanted to send Emily a message, but her thumb froze above the screen. What if she bothered her? What if she was interrupting something important? She typed anyway. I had a nice day today. Within a minute, Emily replied. Tell me everything. Those words made Linda feel young again. Like she was someone worth listening to. They talked until midnight, sharing little things and laughing quietly so neighbors wouldn't hear. When the call ended, Linda stared at the dark ceiling. For the first time in a long time, the darkness didn't feel lonely. It felt peaceful. More weeks passed. Seasons changed. The heat slowly softened. Leaves on the few nearby trees turned brown then fell. The grocery store decorated for Thanksgiving. Customers bought bigger carts filled with sweet potatoes and turkey and pies. Linda worked extra hours that month. Her feet hurt more, but she didn't complain. She liked feeling needed. One evening after Thanksgiving, as she watered her small plant by the kitchen sink, there was a soft knock on her door. She opened it to find the neighbor girl from upstairs holding a plate of cookies. My mom made too many, the girl said shyly. Linda accepted the plate with a big warm smile. Tell your mother thank you. These look delicious. The girl nodded and walked away, headphones back on, dancing slightly. Linda laughed to herself and closed the door gently. She set the cookies next to the yellow curtains and sat down. She didn't need music or TV or a crowd. Being remembered by even one person was enough. She looked out the window. The parking lot light flickered like always. Cars came and went. People hurried home. But in that everyday chaos, Linda found something she thought she lost years ago. A reason to keep going. Life wasn't suddenly easy. The bills still piled up. Her knees ached more in the mornings. Grief still lived inside her, but it no longer forced her to sit alone in the dark. It sat quietly, letting joy take some space too. She touched the curtain again. Soft. Warm. Alive with sunlight even at night. Hope doesn't show up loud. It arrives like a quiet knock on your door. Like a phone call that says I miss you. Like yellow curtains glowing in a small apartment, reminding you that your story is not done yet. Linda breathed in slowly and whispered the simple truth that now felt strong. I am living. And she believed it. Winter in Arizona wasn't harsh, but the night still carried a sharper chill. Linda wrapped a small knitted shawl around her shoulders before stepping outside each morning. She had the same routine as always. Lock the door. Quick glance at the yellow curtains to make sure they rested neatly. Walk to work with a steady pace. One morning, she noticed the sidewalk decorated with chalk drawings. Little suns. Smiling stick figures. A rainbow that stretched crooked across the concrete. Children in the building must have done it over the weekend. The bright colors felt like a greeting. She paused, smiling, her heel hovering mid-step. She hadn't smiled at something so simple in a long time. At the store, her manager pulled her aside. You've been doing great. Customers notice. We'd like to make you lead cashier for weekends. The words surprised her. At 62, promotions weren't something she expected anymore. She nodded slowly, then finally found the words. Thank you. I'll do my best. Her manager smiled and walked away. It shouldn't have meant so much, but it did. It felt like the world was quietly opening a small new door for her. When her shift ended that night, she walked home with a bag of groceries. She bought a little treat for herself, a single slice of cheesecake. She placed it on a plate, sat by the window, and let the sweetness bring a tiny celebration into her quiet home. Later that week, she received a call from Emily. Mom, I'm coming to visit next month. Linda froze with the phone pressed to her ear. You are? Yes. It's time. I want to see you. And your new place. I miss you. Those last 3 words felt like warm sunlight on her chest. She swallowed the lump in her throat. I miss you too, sweetheart. After they hung up, Linda just sat there, breathing, letting the feeling settle inside her. She looked around her apartment, suddenly seeing all the things that weren't ready yet. The small stain on the carpet. The dull color of the walls. The stack of mail she needed to sort. She saw a home that needed a little more love. She decided to change things. Not big things. Not expensive things. She bought a new pillow for the couch, a small rug with soft green tones, a candle that smelled like lavender, and a picture frame, even though she wasn't sure what she would put inside it yet. Each change brought a new kind of pride. One afternoon, she sat with the photo album again. She chose a picture of her and Emily, taken after a school recital. Emily still had glitter on her cheeks. Linda's hand rested proudly on her daughter's shoulder. She placed the photo in the new frame on the table near the yellow curtains. The room looked more complete. She also started cooking more often. She made lists, planned meals, packed extra food for lunch. When she handed a small container of pasta to a coworker who always skipped breaks, he looked surprised. "You sure? I made too much," she joked, even though she made extra on purpose. People appreciated her. The world reflected warmth back to what she gave. The apartment community event became a regular gathering. Sometimes bigger. Sometimes just a few neighbors talking for a bit. Linda went whenever she could. One evening, the two women she now sat with often invited her to join their weekly card game. They laughed loudly together. They shared stories about their kids. One of them told Linda, "You're fun. You should have joined us sooner." Linda smiled wider than she had in years. She still had quiet nights. Days when she missed Sam so much her chest ached. Nights when she reached to the other side of the bed and felt only the cold space of what used to be love. Grief didn't disappear. It softened. Like a storm turning into gentle rain. Sometimes she whispered to Sam's memory, not to ask anything from it but to share. "I'm trying. I hope you see that." The apartment around her agreed. The curtains fluttered in the warm evening breeze. The plant by the sink grew a little taller. Even the silence felt kinder. As Emily's visit drew closer, Linda's nervous excitement grew. She worried she wasn't enough. She worried the reunion might feel strange. But hope was stronger than fear this time. On the morning Emily arrived, Linda woke up early. She brushed her hair twice. She picked a soft pink blouse she hadn't worn in years. She stood by the curtains, looking out at every car that passed. When Emily finally stepped out of the taxi, suitcase in hand, Linda rushed to the door before the knock even came. They stood there for a moment, just seeing each other. Not speaking. Not thinking. Just a pause that held years of missed moments and unspoken apologies. Then Emily stepped forward and hugged her mother tight. "I'm home," Emily whispered. Linda's arms wrapped around her daughter, and the yellow curtains behind them glowed like a sunrise. For the first time in a long time, Linda didn't feel like she was surviving. She felt alive again. The apartment wasn't big. It wasn't fancy. But it held love now. It held two hearts that were learning to be close again. It held a future that wasn't finished. And Linda knew she had earned this light. One day at a time. Emily stayed for a long weekend. They made coffee together in the mornings. Not rushed, not silent. Real conversations. Emily told her about work. About the stress she carried. About the moments she wished she had her mother closer. Linda listened. Not with guilt. With love. They visited the small park nearby. They sat on a bench and watched families play. Emily nudged her gently. "You always loved parks," she said. Linda nodded. Kids remind us that joy can be simple. Before heading home, Emily offered to take a picture. Linda hesitated at first. She never liked cameras much. But something inside her whispered to say yes. She posed with a soft smile, yellow curtains glowing in the background through the apartment window behind her. Emily smiled too, happy to catch that moment. That night, they made dinner together. Pasta again. But this time, it tasted stronger. Fuller. Like family. Before bed, Emily hugged her tightly. "I'm proud of you, Mom." Linda held on a second longer. "I'm proud of you too." After Emily left 2 days later, the apartment felt quiet again. But not empty. Linda looked at the framed photo on the table. She touched the glass with her fingertips, feeling warmth through memory. She didn't cry. She smiled. Life didn't give everything back. It didn't erase loss. It didn't fix every hurt. but it gave chances. And sometimes, one chance was enough to start again. She stood by the curtains. The evening light made the yellow glow soft and calm. She whispered to the space around her. "Thank you. I'm still here." Linda opened the window just enough to let in a breeze. She breathed deeply. The air smelled fresh. The world outside wasn't perfect, but it was hers to live in. One step at a time. One evening at a time. One small joy at a time. Hope stayed with her. And this time, she wasn't letting it go. If Linda's story touched your heart, remember to like the video and subscribe for more real-life emotional journeys. Your support